Welcome to the Old Souls and Seekers podcast, a podcast that transcends the typical personal development journey. You're not new to this. You've read the books, attended the seminars, and perhaps even tried various coaching programs, yet something still feels amiss. Elon and Guy have over 2 decades of relentless searching and $1 million invested in their personal growth quest. Here's the revelation. You're not missing anything. You're not even behind. You might have just been searching in the wrong places. In each episode, we'll uncover the most effective, straightforward practices that have profoundly impacted our lives and the tens of thousands of our clients from all over the world. This is about real, sustainable results for those dedicated to their personal and spiritual growth. So get ready to explore and enjoy the show. How's everybody out there in the internet lands? If you're here with us, please feel free to say hello. And if you are brand new to the community, or it's one of your first calls joining us on Tuesday Live, please let us know that as well. I'd love to give you a hearty welcome to the Satori Prime community. And we'd love to just acknowledge you for your work, for your courage in being here, for taking the time out of your day to look at different ways to improve the quality of life that we're all living. So yeah, it's really good to be with you all. If it is one of your first times joining us, these Tuesday Lives are every single week. We also upload these to the podcast on a weekly basis. So if for any reason you can't make the lives, there's multiple ways to watch us. It's obviously to be here live, best thing, because then we can actually interact with you. Feel free to ask questions or get curious about things that we talk about here. We do send out replays for this about an hour after it concludes. So just keep an eye on your inbox if you're not here for the live. And when you do register on these pages, you can go to satoriprime.com/register. That never sounds right to me. /register. And when you register, there's a little button you can click on there that you're just registered in perpetuity every week. So you don't have to constantly put in your name and email address. And then we will email and text you reminders before things go live, as well as send you the emails when the replays come out. If you are new here, then you're probably just getting going with some of the work that you enrolled in, probably in the Intuitive Mind or a Mindset Mastery Immersion, and that's awesome. We highly recommend that you take action on that and don't let this be some program that you purchased and ends up on your digital bookshelf collecting digital dust, because what the hell's the point of that? Yeah. The value of the programs that we offer here, especially at the digital end of the products, for the value that's in those programs is, I want to say 100x what the investment is, because if you practice what's in those programs on a regular basis, and especially you choose to do those practices within this community, working with other people, and we give pathways and avenues for you guys to do that. This work is life-changing, to say the least. So, if you haven't quite dipped into it yet, please do. Obviously, other opportunities are to just join us at live events, and we also have an entire curriculum that you can work with us for as little as four months, but all the way up to 18 months. And we're actually in the early goings of extending that as well, and creating some other continued practices within our community, and with Elon and myself, and as well as some other teachers that we're going to be slowly kind of introducing here to the community. It's a beautiful place to be. The work here that we do is incredible. Just check out, some comments in the chat boxes or testimonials. So if you just dipped your toes in, I just want you to know that you stumbled in to a really incredible place. Elon and I have been delving into our own work for a combined 42 years, which is just scrambles my brain every time I say that. Once when we were in the 30s, I was like, okay, we've been doing this a minute. Now we're like in, 40 plus years combined. It just scrambles my brain. I had this funny thought. I was watching American football over the weekend, and I was watching Matthew Stafford on the Rams throw a football, and I thought to myself, God, this guy's been playing football for a long time. He's an old man. And then I went and looked how old he is, and he's 36 years old. And I realized I'm 5 years his senior. And then I realized that there's nobody in the NFL that's younger than me that's playing. And I had like a moment where I was like kind of like hunched over. I was like, because when you're a kid, you kind of like idolize. Everyone's like this old, like seems older, but of course they're so like big and stuff. They all feel older than you, and I still feel like a kid watching these games. So yeah, it was this like funny moment of realization I had.
I actually remember watching football during college and thinking like, oh my God, some of these people are just like a couple of years older than me, right? Because like the rookies were just coming into the league. And then I was like, wow, some of these guys are like 10 years older than me. And then it flip-flops. And now you're like, the young ones are 20 years younger than you. And then there's really no one older than you.
Right. It's interesting turn of events, as they say. So yeah, so the Tuesday lives they're really kind of informal, usually conversations that Elon and I have going back and forth about all sorts of areas of life, sometimes even sharing stuff happening in our lives, personal challenges, because they continue. And then, how is it that we're working through what's going on in our lives, stuff that's coming up with clients. And so, the Tuesday Lives is just an easy way that we wanted to give an opportunity for the entire community to have an opportunity to come together, stay in the conversation, give a little pointers, because, in the many years that we've worked in all sorts of healing and transformative practices, the one thing that I will say that's always been there for me, and perhaps when I was younger, I had a little bit of ego about it. Today, I have no ego about this at all, is like we all need reminders. We just all need reminders. Try as you might, even with a 21 plus years of work under each one of our belts, like when you're in it, you're in it. And, say this a lot when we're on program, but when you get taken for a ride, it's like you go into a process, you go into fear patterns, anxiety, whatever it might be that's going on there for you. I mean, biologically speaking, it's like the neocortex literally goes offline. And that's like your awareness goes into the more primal brain, into the more, the ancient brain, so to speak, the animalistic brain. And so it's like whatever you had in your mind in that moment of practices, they tend to just kind of like leak out of this year in that moment, and you don't have access to them. And so this is a big reason why we need other people in our corner. Like Elon and I have more people working with and around us today than we've ever had at any point in our lives. And it's not because like we're failing miserably at this work. I actually feel like it's providing more value in my life than ever before. I would think Elon probably feels the same way. 100%. And part of the reason for that value is because we've let in support into our lives. So maybe that's kind of where we start this conversation today, is just like really the value of support. And we can look at support from a lot of different ways, right? It's like there's physical support, emotional support, but I think more important than anything is really getting energetic support. Okay. And for, again, a lot of you guys who are just getting going with us, this idea that may feel radical in the beginning is going to feel like the most logical thing in the world in a very short period of time, which is really just getting energetic support. Like we today know that your body is basically made of 99.9% space. It's just like we are basically an electromagnetic field. And I was just listening to Dr. Zach Bush. For those of you guys that know him, I love him dearly and speaks so eloquently. And even in the last few years, I've found that a lot of what he talks about, he integrates medicine and holistic naturopathy, but he's starting to speak from a really spiritual place also in the last few years. And he was talking about how our cellular structure phases in and out of reality every millionth of a second. And so your body's phasing in and out of reality 1 million times per second.
Whoa.
Yeah. And he was saying about that I heard him, he does like an 8-week program. So he no longer offers, he doesn't have clients where he gives them medicine of any kind. He does a coaching program on how to bring your body into optimal health. That's all he does today in terms of his practices, which
this is Bush?
Dr. Zach Bush. And it was fascinating to hear because he asked him, like, what's one of the preeminent things you would tell people to do? And he's like, what people don't understand is that 70% of the water that you're made of is not like water that you drink. And water, for it to benefit you in a particular way, has to be in a crystalline structure. I don't know if I share this here, but like I go through great lengths to energize my water and do stuff with it specifically to bring it to a crystalline structure, because I learned this many, many years ago that when you're just drinking water, if you're just drinking like reverse osmosis filtered water, it's not even, not that it's not good for you, it's actually bad for you. And the reason it's bad for you is when water is not mineralized, the water itself actually pulls minerals from your body, from your bones. And there are cases, I'm not joking, where people have drank so much of that they die because it pulls so much minerals out of their body. So he was talking about how like photosynthesis works and chlorophyll works, and basically it's charging a certain particle in there that our body then needs, right? And it's, again, we're all like working off sunlight energy is basically what he's saying. And he's saying, so the way that you increase health in the body is increasing its capacity to hold that energy, to absorb and hold that energy. So yeah, it was very, very interesting from that perspective. But again, he was talking about it from such an energetic place, not from a physicality place, which is why I brought it through. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to give too much advice. People are asking about alkaline and hydrogen, and I'm sure all that stuff is more beneficial. But like today, I wouldn't be caught dead not drinking mineral water. Like I'll never, if I go to the airport or something and I buy a bottle of water, I never get, Dasani or some filtered water. I always make sure it's at the very least mineral water.
Yeah, but you can also add electrolytes.
Yeah, you can add electrolytes and just to kind of like, round the conversation. In ancient times, there's a reason that water was held in copper cisterns and stuff like that because of the energetic components. This is still really well known in the East. And something I do is I spin my water. I actually put it into like a tornado, and it's spun by a magnet on the bottom. So this magnet spins very, very fast and spins the water. And so you can see the vortex and all the oxygenation that happens, and it's coming into contact with a magnetic field. And if you think about this is exactly what water does as it's traveling along the planet. When you have fresh water that's traveling in a river, it's traveling through water. It's getting the magnetic field of the planet. It's picking up minerals from the bed. It's oxygenating itself because it's moving. And that's really what water is supposed to be doing when it's alive. Like water actually is supposed to be alive. It's getting energized by the sun. And so there's a lot of stuff with water, including how it holds memory. Like even when you drink water from a faucet, like they say, again, this is like Eastern stuff that I'm not taking credit for anything I'm saying here right now. I'm just regurgitating things I've learned. Is that water, when it stands still, like in a bottle or anything, it actually starts to deform the crystalline structure. And it also holds certain memories. So it's like you want to have it in a place that's high energized. You want to give it some time to eradicate the memories it's holding. There's all this stuff with water that's really, really really unknown to the public. And people just think, oh, I just drink water, I'm hydrated. And it doesn't work that way. So anyway, good to know on that front. And I went down this whole journey. Why? Where did I start with this whole thing? Oh, support.
Water, support.
Yeah, with support. But the point is that this is why I brought it through, is because from the energetic perspective, it's like our capacity to open our system and receive support has everything to do with the quality of our lives. If you want to think about like the divine intelligence, God, universe, call it whatever you want to call it, and that energy is the energy of loving support, its capacity to support you and love you is predicated on how open you are to receiving that support. It's as simple as that. If you were like laying on the side of a road and you had like an injury and people kept coming by and saying, hey, I can help you with that. And you're like, nah, I'm good. Like you're going to have a real tough time. There's this old joke / anecdote where a man is like drowning in the sea and he keeps praying to God. And he's like, God, save me, please save me, please save me. Oh yeah. And this boat comes by and it's like, hey, we can save you. He's like, no, don't worry. He's like, God's going to save me. So boat leaves, and again, God, please save me, please save me. Another boat comes, hey, we can save you. He's like, no, and so on and so forth. Like all these jokes go. So at the end, the man dies, drowns, goes up to heaven. He goes, God, I was in trouble. I was praying to you. I said, please save me, please save me. He's like, why didn't you save me? He goes, you idiot! I sent you 3 boats.
Who do you think sent you the boats?
Yeah, idiot! I sent you 3 boats. So that's that's how it is, right? It's like our capacity. So what is that predicated on? And from what we have been able to see in our work, it's like the system is in a closed position when it feels the need to defend itself, right? If you even think about like, when you are about to get a hit, you're going to kind of like push the body back, put your arms up. And what you're doing is you're actually pushing vital organs away from the hit and trying to protect yourself, right? And so the body takes this kind of like defensive posture. I guarantee you, even people who have more rolled shoulders like this and their chest is kind of forward like this, like if you went and found out about that person, you're going to find out they're dealing with a great amount of heartache or heartbreak throughout their entire lives. So the body's actually formed itself to push the heart back and away. And we see this in all sorts of different areas of people's lives and how the body shapes itself. And so part of learning how to open, right, is our capacity to begin to accept support from other people in a safe and connected way, which a lot of us did not learn how to do, because a lot of times when we were in connection is where the trauma actually happened, right, with a caregiver or a partner or whatever it may have been. And so naturally, what we do is we create parts of us to defend these like vital areas of our body. And so just where your heart is and just where your stomach is and just where all these vital organs are also the energetic systems of the body. It's not a coincidence, right? At all, that these are major energetic chakras of the system. And so in the same way, when they're closed here, they're closed in the chakra sense. And so your capacity to be able to receive and support and get, this divine connection is vastly limited. Anything you want to add on support, maybe? Some of these questions here.
Yeah, why don't you finish the water stuff first? And then...
No, okay. I'm just looking at some of your questions. So Sarah, the system that I have to spin the water, I don't think they've sold that in a long time. I haven't been able to find that product in quite some time. So I've had it for like 10 years. But if you look and try to find like a water spinner, some of them come with mineral baskets on the bottom. They actually spin through mineral baskets. But I highly recommend doing that. My dad saw that and then went home and created his own
spinner.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of smart.
Yeah, you could certainly shake the water, but I don't think you're going to get quite the same effect. I think there's something to the vortex formation.
I highly encourage the electrolytes in water.
Yeah,
regardless of what systems you have at home. Like I have a reverse osmosis and remineralizer and all that stuff. I still add electrolytes to most bottles of water that I drink. Mm-hmm. I also drink a lot of water. So anytime you're drinking a lot of water, you're going to naturally just deplete your body's resources. And if you're going to drink water, you might as well have it be loaded with, calcium, potassium, sodium, like all these things that your body actually needs. So yeah, I'm a big believer of that. It's made a huge difference just from working out and recovery, things like that.
Yeah. If I'm just looking, if you type in water structured water devices on like Amazon or Google, there are a few others that are now on the market.
Are you feeling inspired by these podcasts? Is this approach striking a chord with you? Imagine taking this journey even further with personal coaching from Guy and I, right from your own home on Zoom. Join us at our next live event. They happen quarterly. It's an accessible, cost-effective way to dive deep into these transformative practices, not just theoretically, but experientially. Attendees often share that they've experienced unprecedented levels of peace, support, forgiveness, and awareness. Remember, healing isn't just a mental exercise. It must be felt and released through the body. So here's a special gift just for you, our valued listener. Visit intuitivemind.live and use the coupon code OLDSOUL to receive 25% off your ticket. The Intuitive Mind event is unlike any other. So impactful that many participants return multiple times, some as many as 10, 12, even 15 times. Plus, once you register, we'll immediately send you a recording of a previous event so that you can start practicing right away. Don't miss this opportunity. Go Go to intuitivemind.live, secure your spot for our next live event using the coupon code OLDSOUL, and start your transformative journey today. Now, back to the show.
Yeah. Okay. I'm so it's so interesting how you went from support to water.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I was thinking it's like Zach Bush, water, support. Well, I was just thinking about like how he's teaching people how to support their body through like an energetic exchange.
Mm-hmm.
And we could kind of, parlay from over there. I mean, for those of you guys that don't know Zach Bush, Dr. Zach Bush, I highly recommend listening to any interview with him. I was just listening to one with Jay Shetty with him.
Mm-hmm.
I've been following his work for, I want to say like 8 or 9 years now, and I've seen his transformation too. But as far as like virology is concerned, microbiome health, longevity, understanding what's happening to our planet and our food supply, he, in my opinion, is one of the preeminent voices.
Yeah, he's amazing
on planet Earth. Even when COVID came out, and listening to him talk about what was happening versus what was being said about what was happening was like a fucking breath of fresh air breakthrough in terms of understanding the virology that affects all of us. And our, we seem to think that we have, and we teach this too to some degree, we seem to think that we have a competitive relationship with bacteria, with viruses, with other animals, but it's actually not the case. Like nothing actually shows that at all, where it's a total cooperation. When you have, bacteria and viruses taking hold of the body, it's simply because the body is in disbalance. Like we're all of us are covered by millions of microbes every single day, and viruses everywhere. This is actually the genetic communication system of our planet. This is actually what informs our system how to evolve and be well and move with the ethos of our planet. Like what, if you try to think of the most ancient things on our planet, it's going to be bacteria, viruses, algae, mycelium, right? Like all those kind of things. So to think that we are somehow in competition with these things is I believe, again, you guys got to come to your conclusions, as a complete philosophical disservice to everybody. And this whole idea of like trying to sanitize our entire planet with chemicals and bleach and pesticides is one of the main reasons. And he talks about this in the interview a lot. He's like, when he went to being a doctor in the early 90s, they did not understand. And he switched gears a lot into this other field that over the next 20 years, the degradation in health and mental health, about all sorts of things that we had never heard of before for thousands of years, that had never happened before, over a 20-year period started happening and at such alarming rates. And so he was one of these people that starting to research what was actually causing that, and started coming to, under this understanding. And so I think that parallels with the work that we do here greatly, right? Because at the end of the day, it's like, if you think that the world out there, or parts of you within you, or your relationships, you're in competition with these things, and you somehow need to beat or get rid of them, we've just never seen that work for anybody. Never seen anybody transform their life by applying more hate, or by resisting more anything that arises within them. It's really in the face of learning how to cooperate from a real place of compassion. And again, one more thing that he said that I was like, that's so true, and something that we teach as well. He said the world is being high strung by empathy, when what is required is compassion. And he makes and we say the exact.
We talk about that all the time.
We say it all the time. We say, when you're working with somebody else, when you're in a relationship with other people and they're in hardship, the way that people approach it is through empathy. And what that means is that they see this person at a low vibration, and they think, oh, in order for me to let them know that I'm here for them, I got to come down to that vibration. And so he's saying that's what doctors are doing. He's like, they see sick people and they're kind of operating from that low vibration with them as well, expecting them to get sick, not really get better, and this whole kind of thing. He goes, where compassion is, where you are the one that's a high vibration, you're holding that state, allowing for the other person to find your state and match that. And we talk about that constantly in our presence practices and our mini practices. We say, you cannot help that person if you go down in the hole with them. Yeah. You got to be the person that stands up at the top of it and puts their arm down and say, hey, it's really beautiful up here. And that's this energetic work, is when you are in your state of dysregulation, which all of us get to, right? At some point in time, like things hit your system. Just yesterday, I don't know why, like I've been feeling really, really stable for many months, but like kind of this like fear, nervousness, doubt, uncertainty kind of creeped in. And I've had this tightness in my belly. I just sat in a Mini this morning, and as this always happens for me, it's like when I sit in a Mini and I'm like, I had that tightness, my stomach, it just starts going. It's like, and I actually take that as a really good sign. Like we always tell people, your stomach is going to do probably funny things. And it's because it's like when the tension in the stomach is releasing, it's like all these bound up things are also releasing. And our experience is that just happens everywhere, right? It's like, again, we're trying to move energy. The flow of energy is the natural state of all nature. Everything in nature is moving in motion. What do we all know that happens to a human being that stops moving? They die, right? Why do old people not want to be put in wheelchairs? Why do they not want to give up their licenses when they drive? Because we intuitively know that if we stop being mobile, we're going to start degrading, right? And so there's this flow of life, this flow of energy that's so important. And so you got to think if that's important everywhere we can see visually, it's clearly important inside the body. Vitality is the flow of energy in the body. And so when you are in, quote, a traumatized state, it's like the body's in this like tight state. And when everything is tight, it's like, what's going to move through here? Nothing. And so when you could feel that resting, that digesting coming into the body, that energetic flow comes back into the body, things can start moving. This is really what healing is. And this is what, again, a doctor is looking at things from the physical, but also now the energetic perspective. One of the smartest people I've ever listened to is saying the exact same thing. And more we're going to start seeing that. So you really want to start thinking to yourself is, how do I cooperate with what you might deem or define as trauma within the body? Stop trying to think of how to get rid of it and start thinking how to cooperate with it. And just in the same way where it's like you have, if I go empathy, if I dive into that trauma and I look at it from there, it's not going to help me. But if I learn how to increase my range of awareness, which is one of the preeminent things that we teach, is how to come away from the conditioned mind, how to stabilize and find what's called open awareness, you can now be in a compassionate state with yourself versus a state of deep empathy with yourself, which is very, very different. And other people can sit with you in a compassionate state and help you elevate and come out of those states. And that's how this healing stuff works. But it really works in cooperation with others.
Yeah. This is the part that I think is very, very important to understand though. And Jocelyn and I were just talking about this. Like, I believe that without someone there to hold you through these processes, like, consider that you don't even know how to, and I'm not saying that you're not compassionate. I don't want you here I don't want you guys to hear this way, but consider that you don't even know what it feels like to offer yourself compassion or other compassion. That there's this, we really do have this empathy and compassion kind of like merged in a way. And it was only after sitting with multiple different practitioners and feeling what it feels like to be held in that unconditional, loving, compassionate state, that you begin to kind of take that on as your own felt sense experience. And now you have that programmed into your nervous system, and you kind of know how to do that both for yourself and others. So it's really, really important to have that connection when you're sitting with someone, because, we've all read books about being compassionate and self-loving and all that stuff. And I always ask people, how's that going? And the truth is, the books might be great maps, but until you feel what it feels like in the body, in your system, then it's a nice thought. It's a nice pointer. So yeah, I just want to offer that whatever you think about compassion and being compassionate, or safety and feeling safe, or whatever it might be, right? I know for me, like, I don't know that anyone ever in my life would have said that I have a tough time connecting to people. Like that would never, if you interviewed all the people that knew me, no one's going to be like, Elon sucks at connecting, he's closed off or anything like that. And as I have done this work and found ways to open my heart, there's something we call the defended heart. As I've learned ways to undefend that heart and stay open, whatever I thought connection was not connection. It was almost like I made up a reality based on kind of what I saw out there. And I said, okay, this is what connection looks and feels like. Mm-hmm. And I became that in the world, right? I played as if an actor was playing the role of this is what it looks like to connect. And I really, really thought that was connection. Like I didn't feel connection was missing in my life. I wasn't walking around being like, you know what? I suck at connecting to people. Like it didn't occur to me that way at all. What if you consider that there's just levels and levels and levels and levels of unconditional love, levels of compassion, levels of connection, levels of peace, levels of safety. And the levels to me never end. And I remember once I had that blast and my heart got blasted open and I walked down to the room for the first time, I started crying because what it felt like to be connected to people. It was like letting people into my heart for the first time ever in my life. And so the only way to experience that, right, is to go through the process of actually bringing more safety and then removing these paradigms and protectors and all these stuff that create the reality as we have it right now. So when we talk about support, you might have some definition of support. It's like, oh, I have people in my life that I can talk to. That's not the support we're talking about. All right. Oh, I have people that listen to me. That's not the support we're talking about. Right. So I just want to offer that there's a ever expanding opportunity to experience more of whatever it is that you already think you have. Whatever you feel like, that's my heart open. I promise you that there's a bajillion other levels of what heart open can feel like.
Love that.
Whatever you think peace feels like, it's what your mind has told you is the experience of peace. And so you keep trying to get to that place, drinking from this well and constantly feeling these. I tell people all the time, like, the question I ask myself every day is, what's new? What's new? What's new? And I keep exploring what's new in the way that I connect to my kids, in the way that I connect to my wife, and the way that I connect to clients and Guy, and right, like, what's new in the way that I feel my body every single day. When I sit in the cold plunge, which is like 4 or 5 times a week, right? Every time I sit in the cold plunge, it's like, okay, what new experience in this time am I feeling? And when you have that idea of just constantly looking for what's new, you almost program this part that's always looking. It's just always looking for what's new, for what's new, for what's new, for what's new. Not what's right, not what's wrong, not what's better, not what's worse, just what's new. And what's new can be, wow, I'm experiencing sadness in a way that I've never experienced sadness. I'm feeling sad in my heart in a whole new way. I'm feeling disconnected in a whole new way. I'm feeling shame or guilt or upset in a whole new way. I'm watching from this different place. Like, whatever it is, to me, that's it. It's like, how much can we expand the observer quality of what we observe in life without judgment, but just purely from the sake of what's new? How much more can I watch? So I really do believe that having the connection to other who has gone down this road a little bit farther than you, that can act as a highlighter or magnifying glass for you to have these experiences, is very, very, very important.
Yeah, I love that that idea of like, it's not, whatever ideas you have, it's not like they're right or wrong. It's just that there's an infinite depth there. Infinite depth. There's a teacher, a mentor of ours that used to say it's transcend and include, right? It's like spiritual work is transcending and including. So you never leave anything behind. There's no part of you leave behind. There's no experience that you've ever had that you leave behind. You just transcend those experiences and you include them, though, in your, quote, knowledge, wisdom-based, experience-based, right? For all of us, it's like we can only do as best as we can with the experiences and knowledge and wisdom that we have. That's as best as we can do at any given time. But for many of us, we've become hamstrung with a particular idea, whether it's an idea of well-being or an idea of communication or whatever it might be. And then we vigilantly argue or defend or stubbornly hold on to these ideas. And so I love that. It's not about that you're wrong or you're even holding the wrong concept or idea. That's the best idea you've had with the experiences and wisdom that you've garnered so far. And that's what anybody can ask of you. But in this world that we live in, it's become a threat to shift our perspective. It's like if you're in the political atmosphere, it's like, oh no, but you said that. It's like, okay, well, they're a human being. They get to evolve.
Yeah.
How they think about something. Yeah, okay, they said that 10 years ago, but like maybe they've had other experiences in the last 10 years. Like
no,
it's not possible, right? Like no. Like you change it. So like I understand it's just different in political theater in terms of why people position certain things at certain times, right? Like because they're always trying to appease the people for blah blah blah. But like in our lives, I just want to use that as a metaphor that we often do the same thing. It's like maybe our ideas have changed, but then like a family member will challenge you on that. And then you'll stubbornly go back to like an old idea as if you have to defend what you said 10 years ago. And then you'll kind of like hold on to that. You're like, oh, I guess I can't make that change because I gotta fight for that. And so like, again, we keep kind of having this theme today of whether something's happening outside of you in a relationship, but also inside of us, how we like stubbornly hold on to certain ideas inside when it's like, who gives a shit about the idea? And instead of just saying, hey, I'm curious if there's something else. Like Elon said, what's new here? What's new in my experience? And allowing ourselves to have more depth or more width in that experience or both, or even find out something that we never even knew was possible. Because that's what keeps happening for Elon and myself. It's like, we talk a lot about in our community about increasing well-being, increasing safety and security, like as a lived experience internally, having relationships that feel safer and more authentic, right? And we always say, don't even try to work on these things. It's not important. They are literally the byproducts of doing this work. Like that stuff is all going to happen for you. And we also say that it's like whatever your concepts or experiences of well-being are, you may not even know what well-being is yet. You may have an idea of it, but you may never have actually tasted it. You may have an idea of what safety or security is, but you may have never tasted it, like actually had it. And so when we do our work, we often point at these different qualities that we have learned are well-being and safety and security so that people can remap in their own experience. They're like, oh, that's what well-being feels like. And oftentimes it's, eons, quantum leaps in terms of what they thought the experience was. And for a lot of people, they realize this is the first time in my life I'm experiencing safety or security. This is the first time in my life I'm experiencing well-being. Why? Because when you hold on to a specific idea, you don't allow contrast to enter your life. And without contrast, a human being doesn't learn shit. It's why no matter how many times you tell your children, do this, don't do that, you're going to get hurt, they do it anyway because they don't know. Like you're speaking from contrast. They don't have that contrast. So they don't know not to put their hand on the hot stove. They don't know that, fingers can get stuck in the door. Like they don't know all those things, right? Like that's just kind of how a human being learns. And so we want to always bring ourselves to a place where we say, I'm going to allow for contrast in my experiences. I'm not going to try to fight them. I'm not going to try to manage them or negate them. I'm going to welcome contrast in my life because the more contrast I come to, the more pendulum swings I allow to happen, the more width, depth I'm going to have in my experience, the more wise I'm going to become. So, and then I could see the pushback on something like that is, well, what if I'm in an experience that I don't want to be having? This is painful. This is going to hurt me, whatever it might be. That's what this work is about. It's about how do we get support? What's the view? How do we work with our own awareness to not be in the resistance point when an experience comes. You guys, you're going to go through amazing seasons of life where everything is going to work really, really well. And you're going to go through very challenging, difficult, damn near scare your pants off type of seasons in your life also. Like, has anybody here not had those things happen to them in life? Right? That's going to happen. So what is the point of trying to build a castle with a moat to defend itself? Because eventually the castle is going to get sacked anyway, where you're going to keep yourself in this very small space for the illusion of having safety, which you don't even have anyway, because it's just the illusion of it. Instead of learning how to navigate our consciousness, our experiences, this world, and our relationships from a place that really develops more well-being and safety and security anyway. And that's what we always talk about, is you cannot acquire these things. You can't acquire the safety. You can't acquire the well-being. You can't acquire great relationships. All these things are cultivated, right? And it's the same thing with children. Like, you can't make them do anything. You cultivate a child, right? So we want to learn how to bring some of those practices into our lives and do that on a regular basis. And I know a lot of you guys here who are listening to this are already doing that work, but here's your reminder, right? As we said in the beginning, it's like, if you're not doing that, and if you're out there on this island alone, trying to figure out why you're in the state, trying to manage the state, trying to make the state go away, we're here to tell you, 42 years of combined work, none of that works. None of that works. Save your time, save your energy, save all of it. Human beings, both spiritually and physically, are social beings. We're social creatures. We operate within the hive. You don't look at an ant and go, oh, look at that independent ant over there, or honeybee, right? Like, they work. We understand that these are social creatures that work within the confines of the society. And human beings are exactly the same. Apes, chimpanzees, gorillas, all exactly the same thing. They're all social beings. They get very, very anxious when they're separated. They get very, very violent when they're separated. It fucks them up. We're exactly the same. So and for a lot of you guys, we're like, well, yeah, my relationships with them don't make me feel safe. So how am I going to operate within those dynamics? And we're telling you, don't do that either. We're saying, like, there's people here, a community, a global community of people at this point in time, a giant network here of people who care enough every day to sit with themselves and become practitioners of this work. That's who you want to work with. You want to work with people who are passionate about their development, who are passionate about their healing, because those people are going to be able to meet you where you want to be met, to presence you where you want to be presenced. You know, like, I'm not going to go to, like, you know, a 3-year-old who's upset to go get support about stuff that's going on in my life. It's not going to work, right?
I mean, I was just thinking, like, you know, sometimes with the kids, like, we're like so upset, but the kid will come to you and do something super cute and kind of like melts you. Totally. I was just thinking in the moment where, like, the kid comes like, Abba? Yeah. And like pokes your face a little bit, yeah, you know, and you're like, you just melt. I was like, so maybe there is something to the 3-year-old being able to help you. But yes, I get what you're saying.
Well, you know what I mean? Like,
yes, totally.
At some level, that's true, because the 3-year-old is in the moment now.
Yes.
And always presencing you, because you kids just are in the now presence, right? So, but that's my point, is, like, when we go to a family member and we try to get that support and we keep getting let down, what we're left with is, they need to change so that I can feel better.
That's right.
When you don't realize that it's just a part of you that's coming to them with that same energetic configuration that's causing the relationship to be in this loop. And you don't need to be in that configuration anymore. You can just get support and get out of that configuration. Like, it can transform itself and grow in that width and depth that we're talking about here. And suddenly you come back to that relationship and you'll see that loop goes away. But where you got the resource from wasn't that relationship. When you're in loops with people, you guys all know this, it's very difficult to get out of those loops. And for most people, that ends up in divorce or and you know, breaking up a friendship or whatever it might be, because they're like, this doesn't work. I keep trying to come to them for this thing. I don't get it. Okay, well, look, the feedback is, this doesn't work. You can't get it from this person. You know, it's like going to like a Mexican restaurant to get sushi all the time and being upset about it. Like, they make Mexican food. Like, you're not gonna get sushi over there, right?
Yep.
So it's like, go get the support with people who are passionate about that kind of work. Those are always the best communities in every area of life. Doesn't matter what you want to master. Like, like how many of us went to school and you had teachers that had no passion at all? Do you remember anything you learned from those people? I guarantee you, Elon and I remember the same high school teacher, and his name is Mr. Petrosino.
I actually just thought about him the other day.
That's funny that I'm bringing him up. I think I had him my sophomore year of high school. I think Elon had him freshman year or something.
Freshman and junior year.
He taught us European history, American way, Americanized European history.
Our version.
But what he was amazing at is he was really passionate about history, and he acted out the characters that he spoke about. So he didn't just it wasn't just this. He literally did the characters. And because that, I remember so much about European history and specific names and dates and stuff like that. And again, he's passionate. I went to the only doctors I go to are doctors who are defiantly passionate, not about even helping people, but about learning more in their field. Because you could just tell with a person, like, I don't want a doctor who went to medical school 40 years ago and got their degree. Fine, maybe they ranked high, but that was it. Now it's a job for them, and they just do the thing. And they have no passion. It means they haven't gone to school. They haven't gone to classes. They haven't gone to, 5-day intensives and learned about new things that are constantly evolving in every area of human life every single day. Like, those are the people I strictly work with. I never feels good to me when I go to the person who's just making a buck, but they don't really, really want to be there. And so it's like in the same confines, like the people in our community who are really dedicated to this work are doing this work at least a few times a week, if not every day of the week. And if you're going to sit and get support from somebody and get presence by somebody, that's where you got to go get it from, not from grandmama who is swigging a bottle of Jack and smoking 3 cigarettes and doesn't care. So that's the heartbreak that a lot of us experience within, our initial family and then so on and so forth in our lives. But if that's happening in your family, those dynamics, the tendency is to replicate those dynamics outside of the family.
Yeah.
And then you have the same kind of challenges showing up in your relationships. And what you learned is it's them, it's not me. They need to change. Okay, that could be a perspective. But how's that going? How's that perspective going? Is it helping you at all, waiting for them to change or to become different, have a different expectation of them? And it's like, as far as I'm concerned, we're all here, hopefully, because we just want to have more peace in our lives, more energy, more presence, more love, more compassion, more care. I mean, feel free to add stuff, in the chat box if you want other stuff, but I think that's what we're all here for, is to limit or end human suffering. And so if there's a place in your life where there's suffering, you get to choose whether, it might be right to not be in that relationship anymore, or to remove yourself or put boundaries in some way. But if you want the healing and you want that pattern to stop, then you got to realize something within you needs to cultivate. Because we're all in these energetic patterns, and people are responding to these patterns unconsciously. They don't even know that they're doing it. And we get in lockstep, like a line dance that we do with each other. And somebody needs to change the beat. Somebody needs to change the rhythm. Somebody needs to change the track, right? For the music to play differently, for the rhythm to change. And that's what transformation is. It changes the frequency, it changes the rhythm, and then everything around you just starts acting differently. And it's not because they changed. It's because you cultivated a new energy within you.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add?
No.
Okay. I think we'll end today's conversation here. We got a call coming up soon. I got to grab a bite before then.
Yeah, same.
I love you all. Thanks for being here, and we'll catch you next Tuesday.
Thank you, dear one, for choosing to share a bit of your day with us. We value you greatly. And as a way to give back and help you to deepen these practices, we want to invite you to join our incredible community on Facebook. You can do so easily by going to joinoldsouls.com and ask for an invite. This is our private community where old souls and seekers are able to grow and share their journey with others. We hold exclusive weekly live streams, we answer your personal questions, and offer valuable insights that we won't be able to share here on the podcast. So again, just head to joinoldsouls.com and grab your invite today. And as always, if you enjoy this podcast, please head to iTunes and leave us a review. It's the only way other people can find this show. So if it's making a difference in your life, please share the love. Until we meet again, have an amazing week, dear one.